Katie. All right, welcome live to Blue Shark Show. Something a little different. We did this during election night and worked out pretty good. We do our normal videos to tape, and usually it takes anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to get out and edited. And tonight we've got in the house, in the studio, we've got Nate Criswell and we've got Commissioner Dave Eagle. And we'll be talking about anything from local to state to national politics. We've got some people that'll be calling in, surprise guests. And Nate, how you doing tonight?
Great, Mike. Happy to be here.
Happy Thanksgiving too coming up.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Thanksgiving will be tomorrow, and really just kind of reflecting on what a great year it has been in Hood County for conservative candidates and causes.
It really has been. We keep saying the 14-3, right?
Yeah, 14-3 this year in elections, and it shows no sign of slowing down. So.
The candidates and the bond and things like that. We're talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Dave Eagle, how you doing tonight? Glad to have you here.
Doing great, and glad to be here, and hope we have a little fun tonight. Yeah, we are. We did have a good midterm election cycle locally, and. I can't express my happiness of how things turned out, and even had a couple of Democrats take a shot at us, and of course they got annihilated. But I guess they got to test the waters every 3 or 4 years.
And they do. I don't blame them. I mean, they want to get their voices heard as social, liberal, leftist,
Marxists,
communists.
Yeah,
yes.
You name it. Just keep going, right?
Yeah, they got blown out of the water. It was a total smoke show, both for your wife, Katie. She beat the tar out of Harold Granick, the little groping doctor, and then Dave managed to whoop up on Grant Wood. What was it, 75-25, 76-24?
Somewhere in there, about a 50% gap there.
At least. And, you guys chime in on the chat on YouTube. We're going to try that out, see how that goes. And once again, we'll be talking to some people via the telephone tonight because we're kind of packed full here in the studio. But let's get back to that 14-3 real quick. Over the last year, the conservatives, and I would say the new Republican Party, not that the old one was too shabby, but I think we've kind of stepped up the program as far as the Republican Party principles, the Republican Party platform, and we finally have people that are getting elected that, lean towards those platform planks. And I know, Dave, you have from day one since you got elected, 4 years ago, and we appreciate that. And, it's a long time coming, and we have Katie Lang that does that. We have several others. We elected. Hey, Kate. We elected.
Hey guys.
What's up, Kate?
Hey, Kitty.
In the control room, right? The Thanksgiving.
Yeah, she
Eve.
controls. She likes to control stuff.
There you go. We just asked Becky, right?
Yeah, just
there
ask
you
the
go.
critics.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also
Happy
got.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
We also got Justice of the Peace Dub Gillum, Constable John Shirley, Constable Chad Davis. We've got quite a few good ones in office around here.
We do. From law enforcement aspect to the county clerk to commissioner and Commissioner Andrews and incoming commissioner Nanette Samuelson.
Man, Nanette is going to be on fire on day one. I feel like she will be anyway.
I hope so. I think she will be too.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of research, a lot of background information. So hopefully she's going to hit the ground running and be help to the commissioner's court from the conservative standpoint. And I know the squishes, the furniture, whatever you want to call it. They certainly don't like it. And, we can even look back to, and we talked about it earlier, Dave, off camera, but even like the chamber, the old Mike Scott and stuff that went out and endorsed your opponent, Grant Wood, who's a Democrat that stands for Democrat values and whatnot. And you can like Grant Wood all you want, and you can like what he does, where he works, whatever. But it's still a Democrat, and it's still the socialist principles, everything from, we talk about it, taking your guns to killing babies. And you think that there's still people around here in Hood County that, profess that and shoot for that. And, good for them for putting that out. But there's also the other side that's, stands for something different.
Well, and the thing about that is you get back to the platform, you got to have some measuring device. And this is just, according to me, in my opinion, I feel like you have to have some measuring device to determine who a candidate is. And the platform of both parties is a good way to take a look at that and to determine whether the candidate, A, subscribes to that platform, and B, whether you can depend on that. And to me, of course, I got involved in the political scene as far as being a precinct chair for the Republican Party and so forth and so on, over 10 years ago. And so I think the platform is a very good barometer, and I subscribe to in general, the platform. And the grassroots have, over the last 3 election cycles, have pretty much taken over the party in Texas, and that platform means something to them.
It does, and it should. And it should mean something to the people that are actual Republicans. And, they go down to, Austin or they go to San Antonio, where their convention is, and they put their time and effort into the platform planks and what you want to do. And they come out, and that's what is set for the Republicans for the next year or two. And, they want Republicans to stick to that because that's conservative principles, right?
Yeah, and it's funny watching the detractors around here who are basically Democrats in hiding, leftovers from the switch that was made in the mid-'90s. And they say, oh, well, the Republicans these days are too extreme or they're too conservative or whatever. It's like, no, buddy, we are in lockstep with the rest of the Republican Party throughout the state of Texas, and perhaps it is you, Mike Scott, or you, Paul Hyde, that's not, in step with the rest of us. We don't want high taxes. We don't want large bureaucracies. We don't want people telling us we have to take a vaccine, and we certainly don't want porn in our student libraries.
Not at all. And you talk about porn, and we have the porn issue coming up, or that continues, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that persists. And guys, if y'all see us eating a little bit, we are kind of munching right now on some Domino's. So
yeah, and it should be Dave's Pizza, but you weren't open. So
yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. But going back to kind of what we're talking about, at school board and some of the things in the library, and Karen Lowry was voted in this time, and hopefully we'll see a change there with Melanie Graff, who's rock solid, and hopefully. Karen Lowry will follow that. But you kind of got to look at, do you remember old Mike Conaway, our old rep, right? Before we had Pfluger, right?
Yeah. Former Congressman Mike Conaway. I sure do remember him. He was in the news the other day.
He was in the news, but didn't he come out and support and kind of stump for the 3, the Paula McDonald, the Barbara Townsend, and the Wimberly?
Oh, it was more than that. He called another one of the candidates and said, hey, if you accept support from Blue Shark, I'm not going to have anything to do with you. Mike Conaway is a control freak, and he was definitely invested for whatever reason.
Invested.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah.
But he was totally invested in how our school board seats went. And there's some breaking news coming out about that. And old Conaway might find himself in handcuffs.
Yeah, he might. I mean, you look at Tucker Carlson, November 22nd, and he did a program on the FTX, right? On, what's coming out with cryptocurrency and whatnot. And that
the
debacle.
Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, Ponzi scheme.
Yep.
And lo and behold, whose name was mentioned?
Mike Conaway.
Mike Conaway, right, on Fox News on Tucker, right?
Yeah.
So let's listen to part of this. It's a couple minutes long, and this is Fox News with Tucker Carlson, and we'll be able to listen to it. You probably won't see it on your screen, but let's take a listen.
People to get this right.
I don't know, Tucker. It's a great question, but I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you playing.
And this is
that piece
Terry
for
Duffy
the
he's
genius
talking
from
about,
California
CME Group
telling me
Chairman,
how
CEO.
Crypto markets work and the difference between capital. What I was referring to is excess margin, which CME
No.
for $200 billion, where FTX was having regulatory capital, which is absolutely nothing. So he didn't know the difference between regulatory capital and margin capital, so it made me laugh. But, really dismissive when it comes to a guy like
Now, he
that.
talked
So,
to,
I don't know why
you
people
know,
didn't see
a
it,
congressional
Tucker.
hearing
I mean,
about.
I said to my team, I said, this is not about crypto, Tucker. This is about him trying to change the world so he could list every single product under the scam that he was trying to do with crypto. The crypto is so small, but if he could deploy his model in the U.S. Treasury market, in the U.S. agricultural market, can you imagine the damage this human being could have done to our country and the world?
Huge.
I mean, and people literally were turning a blind eye to it. When you look at the people that were with him, Tucker, Mark Wiegand, the former head of the CFTC, the chairman, he's walking around with this guy as his, baggage handler and giving him credibility. The former counsel for the CFTC became his general counsel at FTX. The former head of the ad committee, Mike Conaway, is his consultant,
Conaway.
working the room across both sides of the aisle. I mean, it's absolutely.
So there you have it. You have Mike Conaway, the consultant, who he said,
Wait a minute. He's a
working?
consultant now.
Of course he
So
is.
he went from being a congressman, a lowly public servant, now to making God knows how much being a consultant and a lobbyist.
Working across the aisle, right?
Well, that's
on
what
this
he did in
FTX
office, too.
debacle.
Yeah.
So now he's associated with, Bankman and all this stuff that's going on with FTX and the Ponzi scheme. And he's the consultant for it. That also is the same guy that was supporting the other three candidates, correct? In what the Republican Party in Hood County did.
Yeah. He supported the incumbents and their little puppet master.
And that's what you get. You get, true colors. And Jim Keffer's famous for saying that. True colors. That's Mike Conaway's true colors. Never was a fighter for the people of Hood County as far as the conservatives. And he had the most conservative district in the House, in the nation, of everybody, let alone Texas. And yet he was one of the weakest people in office for the House. And that shouldn't have been. It should have been somebody else that was totally different.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Hey, right now we've got, and a little bit earlier, go ahead and take that call if you would, Kate. But we have Wes Verdell with Gun Owners of America that's calling in. And can we get him on the line, Kate? Okay. It'll be a couple minutes before he gets on the line, but all right, Wes, how you doing? This is Mike Lang. Can you hear me? All right. Wes, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, we're trying to work things out to have Wes on with
Wes Verdell, can you hear me?
Let's try to fix that to get him on the line, and we'll keep going with we'll keep going with Mike Conaway deal. But once again, guys, this is live. We're not used to going live, but it's a little bit more fun. And once again, if you're on chat, chat and see what you guys want to think, what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. And Dave Eagle, what do you think about Wes Verdell?
Well,
Can you not hear me?
I think we got him on the line here.
Wes,
now.
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Hey, Wes, this is Mike Lang. Glad to have you on. For the folks that don't know, you're part of Gun Owners of America. And can you tell me kind of the stuff that's going on for the upcoming legislative session?
Wes, you there?
I don't know if we can hear him.
Oh.
We'll try him back later. Kate, can you try to fix that for later?
Yep, will do.
Okay. All right, so getting back to Mike Conaway, throwing it to you, Dave. This is the guy that was with all the way from Hood County, all the way down to
The New Mexico border.
yeah, just about. I mean, he had a big district,
28
right?
Yeah, I think it was 28 or 29 different counties he was in.
Yeah, it was huge, and I'm telling you what, he had the most conservative district, but was one of the, and I would call him furniture, was one of the, I guess, the lowest ranked as far as conservative people.
Well, he was, and I remember several times going attending a town hall meeting that Mike put on.
Now, hang on, Dave. Didn't you used to follow him to those?
Yes,
Okay.
and
Back in the Tea Party days.
back in those days, and he was asked this question many times, and one of them, the one that really sticks out at me was when Boehner was, they were coming into the next session, and I asked him myself, "Are you willing to find another different speaker and vote against Boehner?" And he said no, and he couched it in, "You just don't understand what we have to do up here
right now."
So it's like what I heard, what it sounded like was you little people just don't understand what we have to do.
I can hear that
Us
a little
important
bit.
people have to do.
Oh, that's that elitist mentality that I think a lot of.
So we're trying to work through some technical issues. Can you hear me, Wes?
Yes.
Great. All right, we got Wes Verdell on, Gun Owners of America. We'll pick up about Mike Conaway later, but can you tell us, Wes, thanks for coming on first, but can you tell us what you have going for the upcoming Texas state legislation session coming in?
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't hear y'all anymore.
Wes, can you hear me? This is Nate. Yeah, I guess it cut out again.
That's right. We'll try him back later.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we'll try him back later, Kate. All right, that's all right. We'll try him back later. All right. So getting back to Mike Conaway and your comment, Dave, that's what I would call furniture. You had Ted Cruz, and, all of a sudden, Ted is out there. He's firing back and forth, and he's doing some good stuff. And he's stepping up on Fox News, talking about it, doing whatever he needs to do. And then you have Mike Conaway in the shadows. Now, sometimes personalities do take effect, and somebody's a little bit, more meek, more, a little shy about things.
A wimp.
Well, that comes into it, especially when you see things like this Bankman, the FTX report, and he's the consultant because now he's
Working both sides of the aisle.
working
Mike
both
Conaway
sides.
is the epitome of a typical scumbag politician. They go up to D.C., they don't do what their constituents want, they get out and they take either a cush consultant or lobbyist gig, and then they're set for life. And it's like we see this play out time and time again, and it's funny with this FTX stuff, there's a lot of congressmen that were involved in that managed to make their money and take off with it before everybody else was left holding an empty bag. And I hope that somebody actually does some investigating on that, but with Biden in office, I'm not going to hold my breath.
No, there'll be no investigation. And you can bring, that down to the state level, to the local level, and some of the things going on here. You can say, hey, the books, the airplane deal, whatever you want to bring up. And there's still kind of all kinds of misgivings. There's all kinds of people taking advantage of the system. There's all kinds of misrepresentation. Look at the plane deal and all the things going on with that. Policy procedures, possible legalities going on. And you have that at the national level. And all you Mike Conaway fans, you can, say what you want to say, but look at the facts. Look at the FTX story. We're bringing you what's out there. So don't kill the messenger because your buddy Mike Conaway is screwing up and part of the problem for FTX.
Yeah, and not trying to, promote another outlet, but go look at the Tucker Carlson show from last night. We just aired a little bit of it and see for yourself. But, yeah, and what's interesting about this FTX is that they did take a lot of their money and get it out out of reach to another offshore company or island, actually country. And so it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out, because we're talking billions of dollars.
Well, and with Conaway being that guy's consultant, I wonder who was advising him how to maneuver money around to keep it out of the purview of the federal government.
Somebody
Just
that's
saying.
been there for a while, right? Somebody that knows the ropes.
And I think Conaway, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he George W. Bush's accountant?
Yeah, he's a CPA by trade.
Yeah, I'm
He kind
pretty
of knows
sure he
stuff
was-
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you start dealing with the financial aspects of a lot of things and campaigns and what's going on in consultant arena, things change for you. So when you start to become, I would even say more of a lobbyist than consultant. When you become a lobbyist like that, you really start making your money. And some of us that go into politics aren't in it for the money, and they come out, poorer than when you went in, right?
Wait a minute. I thought we all had big bags of money from West Texas.
Yeah, carrying
Have
around
y'all
big
not
bags of
been-
money, right?
I wish I knew where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, we've got it. We've got that, the FTX stuff. Just go watch Tucker Carlson with Mike Conaway in the forefront of this going on. And then on the state level, we have Shelby Slauson now that is going to be, with redistricting, she's going to be our new rep come January. And so Shelby is, I guess on paper, the 11th or 12th. It looks like the most conservative person in the House. Now, she carried the heartbeat bill, which was, in my view, a good tactical thing to do. Of course, you want a lady carrying the heartbeat bill and what goes with that. So she did a good job with that. Now, what bothers me is we've got a speaker race coming up, and we have the Republican Party platform that we have to look at. And we have several issues that, as our new state rep coming in, that we're going to have to talk about and get with Shelby Slauson and say, where do you stand? What are you going to do? Where are you going to vote? And before you answer the questions, remember that a lot of us understand it. Me, I know where you've been. I know where you're at, and I know the questions you're going to get, and you better tell the right answers, right?
Yeah, and, I wonder if there's anybody in the studio that can shed some insight into Miss Slauson.
Well, I can just tell you some personal experience that she came to Hood County here about a month ago or so, maybe a little longer, and on a visit, to Goodwill visit, and she had a little town hall meeting up here at the courthouse, and I threw her I thought I was lobbing her a softball, and I actually thought that I had an opinion that I was developing based on the imaging that was being put out there about her. But I lobbed her a little underhanded softball about the Republican platform. And I was shocked when she crawfished the way she did on it. She really absolutely just no commitment. I don't make a commitment to any kind of I don't make any type of commitment to something like that. And it really threw me off because I had a different opinion of what I thought she was developing in my mind of who she was. And I did not come away feeling real good about that.
So she said she's not beholden to, like, the Republican Party of Texas platform, for example.
Pretty much.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I share your sentiments in that I had this idea of her, and I got to give credit to whoever her consultant is. The way that they marketed the heartbeat bill, she was always wearing red. She's a natural redhead. She was always doing the little hand heart thing, standing there with all the rest of the legislators. It was a great PR run. Like, that was very well executed. And I had this idea in my head that, hey, she's carrying the heartbeat bill. She's probably conservative as all get out. But then after hearing from several people at that town hall that, hey, she said she doesn't give a rip about the Republican Party of Texas platform, I'm like, well,
and that's kind of weird because, all your senators, state senators and state reps, they go down to the convention. And they actually meet with all the SRECs, everybody. They meet with all the counties and different Republican groups that come in. And where is the platform decided? Right there at the convention.
Well, and she even showed up to our SRE. You know, she showed up to our caucus. And so when we were down there, actually, I was down at the convention as a delegate. But man, I was, like I said, I think there needs to be some more serious scrutiny as to who really she is.
And you know, you look at her saying that about the Republican Party platform, and don't know where she's going with that. Maybe we need to ask her, have her on, and kind of settle all this stuff. But let's get into the speaker vote that's coming up now. You know, Dade Phelan is the House chairman now. He is a Speaker of the House. So Tony Tinderholt, great guy, very conservative. Very.
Is he a Freedom Caucus guy?
Freedom Caucus guy, very conservative.
Awesome.
He said he's going to run. And I think the biggest issue for him and for a lot of people, and I think the stats were like 70% of the Republicans in Texas, they don't want Democrat chairs in a Republican-led House for the state of Texas. Don't blame them. That's been the way it's been done for years and years and years, where they give some Democrats the chairs position, and it needs to stop. And I think Tony, that's one of his main things he's going to run on is, the Speaker of the House. That's going to give all the chair positions to all the committees where you can't just send a bill to die, and he's going to give those to Republicans, which is the way it should be.
It's the way it should be. And if the Democrats were in charge, you can bet your bottom dollar that they would have Democrat chairs on every single committee. But Republicans, the Rhino faction anyways, for whatever reason, feels like, oh, we need to give them this committee or that committee. And then they have the perfect excuse as to why our bills, our conservative priorities and Republican priorities, did not pass.
Well, that goes back to even, 10, 20 years ago. And you could actually have, depending on the makeup of the Democrats in the House and the Republicans in the House, whether it's, there's 150, so you might have 84 Republicans, you might have 76 Republicans. But whatever the makeup is, some of the people can run, your leftist Republican, and garner that Democrat vote and still win and say, the heck with the 40 or 45 Republicans that are conservative, and they can still win. So you got those in-betweeners saying, hey, if you put me as chair, basically, we can get some of 20, 30, maybe 40 votes from the Democrat side. And hopefully they're not playing that game, but that's kind of the game that's been played. And then you get some of the Republicans that say, hey, look, that's just the way it is. That's the way it is with, we're working hands across the aisle, just like the Mike Conaway deal, right? Hands across the aisle. We've got to work with these people to get the votes. And I say, no, you don't.
Hands across the aisle, fun fact, is actually an old Latin term, and it translates roughly to you're going to get screwed.
And here's the deal. Hands across the aisle, if you have 84 Republicans and it takes 76 to pass whatever you need to do, sometimes it's a supermajority. Say you need 100 votes. You may or may not get that, but you're going to get most of your legislation passed if you can get it out of committee, if it's a Republican chair, with 76 votes. So if you can't get 76 votes by just Republicans, then you're in trouble anyway. And we've got probably the bottom 15 that go either way on their votes. So when it comes down to it, you got to look at what's going to go on with Dade Phelan, or what's going to go on with Tony Tinderholt. I bet you, if you look at Shelby Slauson, I really don't think she'll vote for a Tony Tinderholt. Do you?
Well, and she was asked that question actually more than once on that same meeting, and it's just another one of those red flags. She got the straw hat on and the tap dancing and started tap dancing, and she would not make any commitment one way or the other.
As to who she'd support for speaker?
That's correct.
Wow.
And right now, she's probably not going to give away which direction she's going to go. But to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. You got to go with Tony Tinderholt because Dade doesn't look like he's going to do the Republicans only for the chairs. And, chime in, people, whenever you can. We have Tina Law that chimed in and said same thing as Dave, basically. She had the same kind of feeling and the apprehension that you did. I guess she was there when Shelby was there.
Who's that?
Tina Law.
That's, I think, Tina Lawrence.
Yeah, she's the one that I think Tina's the one that asked the question on the House, the speaker question.
Yeah.
Because that came from the other side of the room, and I think it was Tina that asked that.
And sorry, Tina Lawrence. It just says Tina Law on here for Facebook. But I think a lot of us have the same apprehension of what it is and, what way she's going to go. And as our state rep, and the way that Hood County votes, now we're not her biggest county. I believe Coryell County might be. But as far as vote totals, Hood County votes.
Yeah, we certainly do turn out. Katie, did you say we've got Michelle on the line?
Yes.
Can Michelle hear us?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
Michelle, can you
try
hear me?
this again, huh?
Is that Michelle Evans? Can you hear me?
We're going to have to rethink this phone deal here.
Yeah.
We did it on election night, but
Yeah,
I can talk.
all right. Can you hear me, Michelle?
What?
Well, don't do that. She's going to think she doesn't have a
Like,
good
hey,
set.
Dave.
All right.
Hey,
Yeah,
Michelle,
that's
you
right. He's
there?
having fun, man.
Michelle, go ahead and talk.
Hello?
Hey, Michelle, can you hear me? This is Mike Lang. She's having trouble hearing us.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That's all right. Well, we won't do the phone interviews tonight. We'll try to work that out so we can have our future live YouTubes better. But thanks for chiming in, Tina Lawrence. And, we're talking about Shelby Slauson. And, that's okay, Kate. We can do that later.
That's okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's go on with Shelby. And then we have the Republican platform. We have the speaker's race. And we have the chair deal. And the chair deal is really big with a lot of Republicans, whether, you're really into politics or you don't know a lot about politics other than, you don't want a Democrat in charge of any type of chairmanship for any type of committee. And that's a sticking point. So we're going to have to see who votes for what. And I hope Dade get to the point where maybe, I don't know, you think he'll kind of cave to that?
I'm not going to hold my breath. Dade is an establishment hack, and his record proves that. And, at the end of the day, there's a big contingency of voters, especially around here, that when you ask them, how do you vote? They say, I vote Republican. I vote straight Republican. I go Republican all the way down the ballot. I show up during the primaries and make the best choice then. Those people, the most active Republican voters, don't want Democrats in charge of jack squat. And why is that? Because if you have something we're trying to do, like pass a heartbeat bill last session, if there would have been a Democrat in charge of, what was that, the Health and Human Services Committee, if a Democrat would have been in charge of that committee, that bill would have never seen the light of day. Or calendars. People always forget calendars is a super important committee too. We don't need Democrats in charge of jack squat. And here's the deal. People that are kind of in the middle will say, well, you're trying to just run over everybody and ramrod everything you can. You're damn right, because that's what they do to us. And
every time.
Every stinking
on a national
time.
level, on a state
There's no
level,
reason
local
not
level.
to. Voters put Republicans in, let Republicans run it, pass the Republican priorities. Should be a no-brainer.
And Dave, when you had that, I guess, meeting, it was kind of a town hall type deal. What else did Shelby talk about, Rep. Slauson?
Well, she was also a little bit a little bit vague at that point. And this has only been 5-6 weeks ago on the border, on the people coming over the border. And it's interesting because here, like last week or so, the governor's actually finally put out there and declared an invasion under the U.S. Constitution and the Texas. And so, but she was a little bit wishy-washy and non-committal on that as well.
And my take on that is, I think a lot of them were kind of standing by going, hey, you know, it's an invasion at the border, but they're waiting on Governor Abbott to say, hey, look, this is what I want to do. And he's going to do it in his own time, according to, you know, his race, because he was with Beto. He's going to do it because what Ron DeSantis, Governor DeSantis, is in Florida. And he's seeing what, you know, Trump's going to do. He's seeing what Kari Lake's going to do. So, you know, he's in competition with several other governors from other states. And, you know, kind of to heck with Texas on what's going on over here, he's looking at a bigger picture because he knows he's going to beat Beto, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Abbott, he was calculating that based on, like you said, the polls for his race, and then also what best sets him up going into 2024. And, you know, call me
Right.
crazy, I think he has presidential ambitions, and I think everybody knows it.
Yeah, he does. I think he really does. I think he's going to have to get past the Kari Lake aspect of it, her coming on the scene. I think he's got to get way past DeSantis because he did. I mean, you want to talk about the red wave? That was Florida.
DeSantis is a leader. Abbott
Yeah.
is a follower. The
Yeah.
best he can do is try to keep up with DeSantis. He can't lead.
I would rather have, you know, Abbott than Beto, most definitely.
100%.
Yeah. And, you know, but when it comes to, if you look at Abbott and you look at DeSantis, there's just no difference in leadership. I mean,
You mean no contest?
yeah,
Yeah.
no contest, a difference. But yeah, there's a huge difference, but no contest. And, you know, DeSantis, just look at their state. I mean, just pure red. And he did a great job. I mean, he does a great job, you know, in the media. He does what he's supposed to do, and the people love it because they're conservative Republicans. They're conservative. And I think Abbott looks at the polls, and he kind of lags behind what's, you know, at the polls, what's this, what's that. And whatever system you use, you know, Ron DeSantis, he doesn't use the polls.
No, and well, he doesn't use the opinion polls. What
Right.
he does is he cleans up the voter rolls like he did. He's tightened up the election day baloney that they were doing there in Florida for a while. Like, he went through and made some reforms that helped him achieve that huge victory. And that's something that I wish Abbott would do too, but you know.
Well, the other thing about DeSantis too, that I think the people out here in general want somebody that they can understand, and someone that's going to be frank and straight with them. And you know, I watched DeSantis in a couple of his like interviews with the press when the press is interviewing, and he's very to the point and frank. And for instance, I heard a reporter asking him a question, but he went on and on and on, and finally DeSantis goes, "Are you going to ask me a question or make a speech?" And it really shut the whole thing down because and I thought, wow, you know, I like that because that's what happens. These reporters, they completely spin what they want to ask, tell the story they want to tell, and then let the official being asked, you know, have a very short answer to it. And so I like the way he handles the press, and he's very to the point and very blunt, actually, in many ways. And frankly, for me, I like that.
Yeah, and maybe you can do that locally too here with the press here. We've got one. I mean, you can add the Star Telegram, but you could add Kathy Cruz, the Star Telegram, and Spud Kennedy or Bud Kennedy and
Spud.
yes, Bud food.
I like
Potato,
to call him Burger Bud.
Burger Bud, whatever.
World-renowned cheeseburger connoisseur.
You know, we did, and that kind of brings us into the Fort Worth Star Telegram and chime in, people, whatever you want if you're on and listening. But, you know, this is our second live broadcast, and we'll try to do more so we can get more people involved in talking and kind of texting into YouTube. But a while back we did, you know, the drag queens were coming to Granbury, and you know, they were doing it on right before 4th of July, and they wanted to get into the parade, and there was a big, you know, hey, what's the drag queens doing? And this is when, you know, the drag queens were coming to the bars, and they're bringing all the kids to the bars, and you know, Blue Shark was, you know, the big haters of everything going on because it was drag queens and kids in the bars, and you're not for LGBTQ and all this stuff, and And so we have this other article coming out, which is totally wrong. You're 18, go do what you want. I can care less. You start bringing in the kids and you start doing your dances in bars for kids and, doing the crotch thing and all that stuff. That's wrong. But in comes, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, of course, and they put an article out and they have the drag queens on stage and they have a little banner with them and it says, "Teach the Truth." So the title is, "This is what happens when HBO drag queens sashay into ruby red Granbury, Texas." Don't you love those words? Sashay and ruby red.
Hang on, real quick. Sashay, that's a dance, right?
No, it's. I
What's a
guess you
sashay?
can. You can sashay. You can move.
Is it like
you
a
can,
strut?
Yeah,
I'm not even
strut.
familiar with that word. Maybe that just says something about our education. But go ahead.
Well, Dave, you're a little bit older than I am. I'm older than Nate is. So what would you say to sashay?
Can you demonstrate a sashay?
Demonstrate. Get up here on the table like they do. We got, you want money or
No,
what?
I think it's just kind of a strutty entrance into somewhere
Sashay,
or across
yeah.
the floor or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make
I think I understand it now.
I don't want to get in trouble. So
Okay. Yeah, we
It's
are
a
on
sashay,
YouTube.
but anyway, and it's ruby red. It's not red, but it's Granbury's red, of course,
Yeah.
right? Or supposedly, and into Texas. But the sign is what cracks me up, and it says, "Teach the truth." Well, is the truth drag queens in drag queen story hour for kids? Now they can have all the story hours with themselves and 18 and over, whatever they want. But they don't want that. They came here specifically for, and like I said in the first video, specifically for Granbury. And if you're going to be in a parade, there's going to be a lot of kids, a lot of families, a lot of down home, ice cream, 4th of July, fireworks, family oriented.
Good old fashioned 4th of
Yes.
July celebration.
And,
That they wanted to crash
inject
with
it,
a bunch
yes.
of transgender
Yes.
people.
So, and
Got to be
go-
careful on you.
go be that, whatever you want to be at 18. But when you start going after the kids, and then we get into the transgender stuff for, the kids and the different parents and the different mutilations that I call going on with their body at age 5, 6, whatever that is. And this child abuse is what I call it by the parents. But getting back to this sign, it says, "Teach the truth." So what is the truth? What is the truth to HBO? What is the truth to you? What is the truth biblically? What is the truth to, this drag queen story hour in ruby red, Sashay, Texas? What is it to you, Dave?
well, in other words, you're asking what kind of message are they
Yeah,
sending?
what message?
And I don't know exactly without watching the show, but I would say that the implications is probably anything goes, and the truth is whatever you want it to be, and that's what's going on with the schools today and the public school system is that the truth is relative, and maybe that's not what they're trying to portray with that. But when I look at that photo, I think, well, truth is, they're making truth a relative, whatever you say it is, kind of a proposition. And I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, and with the idea of truth as relative, that's everything that they teach in universities now. Postmodernism, up is down, left is right, ugly is beautiful, there is no truth, everything's subjective. That is what they drill, and this is a direct result of what happens in our universities and our schools.
And, this is the Fort Worth Star-Telegram article that came out on November 23rd, which is today, right?
Today, actually.
Yeah. And, we're talking about this. We did the show a few weeks ago, right around, July, right? July 4th.
Yeah, that was a few months ago. They
So,
were a little slow on the uptake, but
yeah.
I'll take the free press.
But, and you go back to whatever we tolerate as a society, whether it's the drag queens and the kids in the bars and whatnot, and the money and all that stuff and the touching, whatever we tolerate today is going to become the norm for tomorrow. And that's what we're looking at as the norm. Now, I'm against that personally, and I believe you two are too. So I'm against it. Now, there's people that are for this, and you can call it grooming. You may not call it grooming. We can call whatever we want as far as the drag queen happy hour, things like that. Once again, if you're 18, you want to do something, as long as it's not taxpayer funded, go do it. I don't want to be paying taxpayer money to have you get changes because you believe you're a tree or a bush or a shrub or something like that, or an animal or furry, whatever you want to call it. So go do it on your own. But there are people that are fighting. They're not inclusive, like for our opinion, but they're fighting against standing for, the Christian conservative values. So here we are with the Hood County News, and they start going after, hey, Granbury's a town of nearly 12,000 souls.
That's Telegram, Star Telegram.
Yeah, Star Telegram. Thanks. And 12,000 souls. It's not 12,000 people, but 12,000 souls. And I agree that whoever put this in here was making fun, but souls is right. So when you get down to it, if you're going after drag queens for kids and stuff like that, you're going to be judged, not by me, but by the Lord. You're going to be judged at some point in time. So if you think that we're coming after Blue Shark, we're not. Go do what you want to do at 18. But when you start involving kids and underage kids, yeah, you'll be judged by somebody else. So they talk about the 4th of July parade. And let's see, it sits on the shore of Lake Granbury, right? Past the snags and groomed sand of City Beach on 377. And, it's a charming historic courthouse, which it is. And it's a big draw for visitors, near and far. And it is. So why do you think HBO came out here, and we said that in the previous video, why do you think they came out here to Granbury, to over 80% Republican, to a place as good as Granbury?
Just to rub it in our faces.
Yeah.
We called it right from the start, and, they tried.
Yeah.
In that Telegram article, they mentioned getting called slurs by a minor. Now, I don't condone that, but at the same time, I don't know what the heck they expected coming to Granbury with a bunch of transgenders.
So, the article goes on, and they say it's also a proudly Christian conservative community. So they admit that it's a Christian conservative community, which it is. And the word of the drag queens that they were going to march in the town's beloved 4th of July parade rankled some of the residents and the right-wing voices alike. So they're saying basically that it upset, it kind of got into the citizens. You notice how they say citizens and then right-wing, the residents and the right-wing, and they drop off that residents, which is, everybody, and they go after that right-wing, right, which is Blue Shark. And I believe they mentioned both you and me on that article, right?
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. So, they go on and they talk about it. And we tell them basically what, we told you guys now, and that they're coming into Granbury, Texas for a specific reason and to get their ratings up and everything like that. So, they go on about the shops in the town square and the flagpoles and Independence Day celebrations, social media, burned with comments on both ends of the debate. The comments I saw on both ends of the debate were the people from Granbury didn't like what was going on, and the people from California and Oregon didn't like what was going on. They don't even live here, yet they're for the drag queens in the HBO show. So there you go, right? They don't live here.
Yep.
So they're, I'm from California. I don't like what's going on in Granbury. Great.
Yeah, and they want to change it.
Yeah.
Too bad. So
they go on and say, from California and all these other places, I don't get why so many people in this town are so hateful. Hateful for what? What's hateful? What is hateful about having a wholesome 4th of July parade, not wanting drag queens that are going into the bars, which they did here in Hood County? And if you're a bar and you wanted the drag queens to go in, then it's your bar. Go do what you want. But then they bring the kids into the bar, right? So, people ask, would you want kids in the bar if it was heterosexual? No, I don't want kids in the bar.
No, I don't want kids in a bar.
period, right?
Period.
Yeah,
This
so-
should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And that's what kills me about this is they say, oh, well, you guys are so intolerant. You don't want these people there. We don't want them parading out in the streets when we're sitting there with our children. That's what we don't want.
Yeah, and then people go on, if you don't like the show on HBO, then don't watch it. Well, the fact is, it doesn't matter if you don't like the show on HBO. They're filming here in Granbury, and they're doing certain things, going to the bars and whatnot. And it goes back to the same question. You want to push that agenda, push that agenda. But I'm not going to push your agenda for you. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to tolerate your agenda. I'm going to be against your agenda, and I'm going to push my agenda. So I'm inclusive with people that want to do that. Now, if you want to do it with kids, no. But if you want to push your agenda and you're over 18, push it. All right? And I'm going to push mine. But the problem is I can be inclusive and say, hey, push your own agenda if you want to do that, Nate. If that's what you want to do, I know you don't. But push it.
Only on the weekends.
But they can't do that on our side. They can't say, hey, I agree with you. You push your agenda, I'll push mine. Because for me to say, hey, I disagree with you, that's hateful.
Yeah.
That's totally hateful. But for them, it's not hateful.
Well, it's that old saying, if it weren't for double standards, they'd have no standards at all. And this is just yet another example of it.
Yeah, so we had the story come out in Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and even our buddy Spud, tweeted out something about what was going on in Hood County. Of course, I don't know, maybe we ought to have him, as an ambassador to Hood County, or maybe,
Please keep him out of here.
maybe we should have him just come on down. Maybe he can be on the show. Bud Kenny, sit down here and
You think
talk
he
to
would?
us. No, I don't think he would. But
I don't think he would.
Yeah,
I think
but-
we're too intolerant for him.
But maybe have Bud Kennedy come down here because he really loves to hear what's going on in Hood County, and he can't stand anything conservative or Christian that's going on. And it kind of mirrors what Kathy Cruz has been doing in the paper for all these years about the religious aspect of it.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. Both Bud Kennedy and Kathy Cruz, one, they go way back, and two, they bounce stuff off of each other all the time. It's often the case that Kathy will do an article about something here, heaven forbid we have some conservative Christians stand up for what they believe in. Kathy will report on it here, and then Bud Kennedy will report on it up in Fort Worth. We see that all the time, and, you asked about him coming down here. Man, keep him out of here, please. And it's for everybody's safety.
Everybody's safety and sake, right?
Yeah, and sanity.
Yeah, sanity.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about safety. I think everybody has a good, well, I say everybody. I think most people have a good aspect of.
We get some crazy hate mail.
I know I do. Yeah.
It's been ramping up
Yeah.
here lately.
But we have good, I like that debate. I like being able to talk about it, just like Dave, you do on Commissioner's Court. Sometimes you have spirited debate and you stand for one thing and the judge and Jack and Ron don't. And that's what I like about, sometimes you'll agree, 5-0 is the vote, but sometimes it'll be 3-2 or 4-1. And that's what I like about that debate and where you stand.
Well, and that's I apply that to the school board or whatever, and I've even made that comment at the school board. It's like I'm not looking for all of you to sing a different note in a chord. Sometimes you need to have a heated debate about an issue, and if you're not willing to debate it and disagree, then something's wrong. You've got a preconceived, everything's already done before you walk in the door. I don't think the voters, the taxpayers' voters who put us in office want us to go up there and sing Kumbaya all the time. Now, I just don't think that, because if we're up there in agreement, and here's my motto, if we're always up there agreeing, you better watch your bank account.
That's right. And I look at it this way too. I want the spirited debate. And if you can change mine, that's great. If it can be 5-0 after that spirited debate, then it's 5-0. But you have your say along with all the, other three commissioners, along with the county judge. But a lot of times, and you do the research, you go through whatever agenda item, and you know how you're going to vote for the most part. Now, somebody can come up, the citizens come up and talk during the agenda item, may change your mind, may not. But when you're up there, and I'll take the school board for a perfect example. when we start talking about the books in the school, and they're still in there, if the books in the school would have been solved within the first couple of months, I don't think you would have had any of this go on with, as far as Karen Lowry, Leuven, anybody running for any type of office. And, you know, I think the more problems you have when you talk about social issues and you talk about any type of, and I want to go maybe to the religious aspect, but any type of moral issues, and you really mess them up, that's when you start getting the citizens involved. And when the citizens get involved, then your way of life on that school board is going to change until you fix what happened.
And what gets me on that school board, now that you're bringing that up, is how absolutely tone deaf this school board has been. More and more people are coming to the school board meetings. More and more people are signing up to speak on the agenda. And then what do they do in the last couple of months? They've got the public comments at the front of the agenda, but when they get to the open mic public comments, the president of the school board bumps them to the back, which basically is telling people, we don't want to hear from you, and they're hoping that people leave. I've signed up to speak twice, and then I had a busy schedule the next day, and when she bumps it to the back, I just give up. And that's what they want.
See, that's exactly the reason. That's why they do it. That's why the city went to it, and that's why there was a push on the commissioner's court to do that through Jack Wilson, and he finally like gave up after the citizens came up and said, "Hey, no way." But you know, I think there needs to be another mechanism in place. And you're talking about Barbara Townsend, the school board president. I think when, and I guess through her rules, she can actually do that, is bump things throughout the agenda and what's going on. But that is an in-your-face, your citizens come last. We're not going to hold these people here because we have awards to give. We have teachers here. We have parents here. We have kids here. And we don't want them listening to what's going on because they may look at it and say, hey, what's going on with this school board? What's going on with this district? And that is the point. They don't want their so-called dirty laundry aired out in front of everybody. So that's why they put all that stuff to the back. And yes, you might have 15 people sign up and maybe 6 will stay around to actually talk to the school board.
Yeah, but here's the deal with that. And I know Nate wants to say something to that. Here's the deal with that. They drew 3 opponents for the 3 positions because they are so absolutely tone deaf about that. And you know what? One person lost their seat. There's going to be 2 positions coming up next year. Mm-hmm. And you know what? You're going to draw opponents. You're going to draw opponents as long as you're not doing the right thing, and you're going to get more and more heated opponents that are going to come after you because you're not listening to the people. That's the long and
plain
short
simple. Yeah.
If they would simply do what people expect them to do as the conservative Christian community that we are, all their problems would go away. Like you said, if they would have just gotten those books out like Dr. Glenn said he was going to initially, we wouldn't have even had people running for school board. There wouldn't really been much reason to run, minus maybe the bond issue, but it wouldn't have been focused on the books.
Yeah.
They bring all this stuff on themselves. And then, you know, I watched the coverage, that Jimmy Dawson guy, he gets up there in front of the news anchor and lies through his freaking teeth.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you got caught, man.
And
Stop lying. You're making it worse. Now you really deserve to be fired. It's one thing to screw up and say, hey, Dr. Glenn told me I could do it, but it's another so I didn't take any personal trips. Really, what's this? Here's a picture of you in Abilene in the driver's seat of the plane that your daughter posted on Facebook.
Yeah, and out the door he went.
Yeah, and he went, I'm not the droid you're looking for. You know,
Yeah.
right out of, Star Wars, I'm not the droid you're looking for.
You know, and it's funny because as a kid, I used to think that anybody that was an attorney, no offense, Dave, or anyone that was an elected official, no offense, Mike, I used to think anybody that was in a position of relative influence over the community. When I was a kid, I was like, man, they must be like really smart, really important. They must know their stuff. The older I get, I'm finding out these people are dumber than rocks, and it's like we keep electing them. So who's really stupid? But,
Yeah, it all goes
the
back
good
to-
news is that we keep winning though. And
Right.
more and more people are waking up to their shenanigans. And I think this November is going to do it.
And do your research, right? From day one, do your research on every single candidate. Look at them, talk to them. Most of them are out, half of them are out knocking on doors. So you'll have the opportunity to talk to them. But when you get back to, we talked about the books in the school, and if that wasn't an issue, the bond would have been. But it wouldn't have made it as big of an issue. It was still a big issue. And then you had the plane issue that came about during the same time, but wasn't released, and they kind of waited till after the elections were over. So if you would take those three issues, yes, you got a problem with the school board. Had they handled the first one, and had they had the right communication, and we talked about it a lot with the committees on the bond, but had they handled both of those issues, I think you would have had a bond. It wouldn't have been, $500 million in debt, if you total all the bonds, but it would have been probably a few, a couple $100 million. I think you would have had a bond. The books would have been gone, and things would have gone smoothly, and they probably would have kept the same people that ran.
By and large, they would have probably gone unopposed.
Yep. So, it's just a matter of doing the right thing. And when you don't, and you get your electorate all, ticked off, then time comes that you need people to run against them.
That's right. And the good news about here locally is that we have no shortage of people that are willing to step up and run. And, the more we win, the more people want to run, and the more people wake up to see the misdeeds of the government. So, really, I think another 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years, I think we will finally be that shining beacon that we've been working towards these last few years.
I think so, but it's going to be, it'll be hard. It'll be, constant battle, a constant fight, because when you start moving into an area that has the good old boy system, the good old boy network, they're not just going to go, oh, you guys win, we're just going to give up on everything. They're going to, as they lose ground, they're going to fight harder and harder and harder to get their ground back. And it's going to be up to the people to be educated enough to say, who's who coming up in the election, who's the conservative, who isn't, who's the actual Democrat. And at least we're having people now running as Democrats, even though there's some in, who did you have in the primary? You had one person or two? One. Okay.
One.
So in the primaries, usually here we had, I think Katie Lang had 3, 4 total, but you have the so-called Democrats running in the primary, right? Now at least we have some in the primary, but we have true Democrats running in the general. So maybe we'll get closer to doing that and have the actual Republicans running in the primary. I doubt it, but maybe we will. So that's something to look forward to. And I think you're right, Nate, is 3-4 years go down, we keep fighting like we are, we're going to make even a bigger dent on what's going on, whether they like it or not. And, we said it earlier, shame on the people that have been here for, since high school or 6th generation Hood Countyan and have let this get to this point. Where have you been, right? So, we can do that. Now, Wes Verdell, Guns of America, Gun Owners of America, and Michelle Evans, we wanted to talk to them a little bit about...
I got a statement from Wes.
Okay, let's hear that statement if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. So he said, we have 15 bills we'll be filing this year to include the 18 to 20-year-old constitutional carry, which, as you remember, that was not part of the original constitutional carry. They're going to try to cover that gap. With the increase in Republican legislator majority, as long as Republicans keep their pro-gun campaign promises, we shouldn't have to worry about the large number of anti-gun bills being currently presented. Even Uvalde County supported Republicans by a majority of votes. It's up to all citizens to make sure any person who campaigned as pro-gun votes the right way. And I agree with that 110%. The best defense is a good offense. Historically, elected Republicans often had a poor offense, and they need to do better this session. When Republicans control the legislature, there's no excuse why any anti-gun bills should become law. And
I agree.
I agree with 110% with that. And, you know, Wes, one of the things I like about him, he's super thorough, super passionate, and he understands that just because the Republicans are in control, that doesn't mean we can let our guard down, because that's how they start creeping back in. We need to be pushing forward, covering that 18 to 20-year-old gap for constitutional carry. I would like to see some type of hearing protection act. You know, making it to where people can have suppressors without having to go through all the rigmarole of the ATF. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we can still do. And I hate to say it, but unlike for abortion, it's like we've already got the heartbeat bill, Roe v. Wade's overturned.
Yeah,
we had the trigger bill. That issue's kind of over. But the gun issue is not over.
And you can always keep moving that, you know, closer and closer and closer as far as abortion, and same with your Second Amendment rights. And Drew Springer, while he was in the House, he's going to be in the Senate now, but he had the Hearing Protection Act, and it's just going to be, you know.
I got to say real quick, I love the way they phrase that, though.
Yeah.
That's taking the way the left does stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hearing. How could you be against a Hearing Protection Act? Yeah,
So
well, it's for suppressors.
He had that bill, and, you know, it's kind of contingent on what the feds do, ATF, and so ATF and E. But so hopefully, if that, you know, ever comes across, then we can do that here in the state of Texas. But and then we also had Michelle Evans, and she ran in, do you remember House District, what that
136.
was? 136. Mm-hmm. And that was a tough House district to begin with, because that is a Democrat House district. But she did great. She knocked a lot of doors, was out there, worked really hard.
She worked her tail off, and I have a feeling she'll be somewhere down around the Capitol here before too long. Just seeing the way stuff works out, usually when you have a candidate that works as hard as she did, even though she came up a little short, surely somebody needs some help with some legislation somewhere.
Yeah, she did a great job, and we were trying to have her and Wes Verdell on. Didn't work out tonight, but we'll get all those kinks worked out and here on YouTube and try to do our next live. We like doing live, like the election night, so we'll still have her videos come out that are taped and brought to YouTube and Rumble. But anything else before we close tonight? Nothing at all.
You know, just like I said before, I'll be taking a little bit of a step back. You won't be seeing as much of me, but I'll still be keeping my ear to the ground.
Good deal. I hope so. And you'll be coming in, right, still?
Yeah.
From time to time?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. What about you, Dave?
I'll be glad to hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving and good holiday season here. And, you know, we'll just keep, we can't let ourselves guard down. We have to start getting ready right now for the next election cycle. We have to continue our quest to get conservatives in every office. And the myth about a nonpartisan seat, for instance, like the school board or the city council, is a myth, in my opinion. And I think there may even be some potential legislation laying around about calling it that, you know.
Right, with Steve Toth, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving, and sorry I'm a little bit under the weather here, but...
That's right, and I'll echo that too. You know, happy Thanksgiving, and, you know, I would like for everybody to kind of work together. You can have your own kind of value system or whatever you need to do. Good, healthy debates, talk about issues, include everybody on your issues. But when it comes down to it, the left and the socialists don't like including everybody. It's just their way or the highway. When it comes to, you know, Blue Shark, we give you the documents, we give you the audio, we give you the video. Look at it for yourself, research it yourself. Our opinions are based on facts from the audio, facts from the documents, and facts from the videos. Look at it, see what you think. And next time we'll give you a little bit more heads up about going live. But we enjoy this, so chime in next time and happy Thanksgiving.